Hello, and welcome to my channel. My name is Jonathan Cohn, and today I will be discussing my December TBR. My November TBR did not get made because I completely failed at my October TBR, and I was trying to catch up, and I had other stuff, and curveballs kept coming in November, so November TBR didn't really happen, but I thought I'm really going to make sure I read my December TBR. My December TBR has a lot of Star Trek books, as does the rest of my reading schedule for the next 6 months, which I'll do my next 6 months in another video, but specifically here I will talk about my December TBR. The first book on my TBR I will discuss is the novel Mr. Monster, which is by Dan Wells. This is the second book in the John Cleaver series, and it is about this. The first book was I Am Not a Serial Killer. It's about this guy, this young boy, who finds serial killers fascinating, and he wants to study them more. And obviously everyone else thinks that's a little creepy, that he wants to get into all that stuff. And so this book is all about getting into... The first book was about him studying serial killers and then finding out there was a serial killer in his town, and all of a sudden he tries to tell people about it, he tries to stop the serial killer, all that stuff. It was a very creepy... This is a horror book, but there was a horror book, but I enjoyed it. I don't normally read horror, but I got to meet Dan Wells at a convention earlier this year, and he was super nice, and I thought I would try the second book. At least if I still like this book, I'll keep going with the series. I don't know. I'm just trying to broaden my horizons, so that's one. Talking about not broadening my horizons, however, will be my Star Trek books. I love reading Star Trek, but it'll be broadening my horizons in a different way. I've read a lot of Star Trek, but I have not read a lot of Star Trek the original series. So the first thing I'll talk about is the Legacies trilogy. I'm going to bring up the whole trilogy here, which includes Captain to Captain by Greg Cox. You have The Best Defense by David Mack, and then I have Purgatory's Key by Dayton Ward and Kevin Dillmore. This is the big 50th anniversary trilogy that was released in 2016 to celebrate the 50th anniversary of Star Trek the original series, airing in 1966, and I have read books by all three of these authors, by Greg Cox, by David Mack and Dayton Ward, and I've loved all the books I've read from them, or most of the books I should say. I've liked books from each of these authors, and also I want to read more from the original series, and this seemed like an easy jumping off point because this series was made for casual readers, as are most of the TOS books. So I'm very excited to dive into this trilogy. I normally don't read a trilogy all in 1 month. I read one, maybe 2 books, like the first book at the beginning of the month, second book towards the end, third book the next month. This time I'm going to read all these back to back to back, and that sounds very exciting to me. The next book on my list is another Star Trek book. It is Immortal Coil. This is by Jeffrey Lang. This is a pretty revered Star Trek book. It has quite a lot of history because of the influences it had, specifically on the Cold Equations trilogy. And I listened to some interviews with David Mack where he talks about how he made the Cold Equations trilogy essentially a sequel to Immortal Coil, and I want to read that Cold Equations trilogy because I want to read more from David Mack, and I have that trilogy. So before I get there, I'm going to read Immortal Coil. This is a Next Generation book. This was published around 2002, so it's been quite a while since it was published, but I'm super excited to get into this one. So if you're not a Star Trek fan, that's all my Star Trek books for the next month. However, there is a book that comes out at the tail end of the month, which will mean I'll either read it in the month of December or the very beginning of January. And I don't have the book here, obviously, but it is Star Trek Deep Space Nine. The book is called Revenant, and it is by Alex White. And that is a book that will feature Kira and will also feature Jadzia Dax, set during the DS9 TV show. I have not really read any DS9 specific books. I've read books with DS9 characters, but not DS9 specific books, and I intend to change that over the course of the next few months, and so that'll be the first book that is a new release, so I will definitely make a video for that one. The next book on my list that I will discuss is in Agatha Christie. If you've been watching the channel, you know I've been getting more and more into Agatha Christie books over the last several months. And the next book of hers I'm going to read is Hercule Poirot's Christmas. I'm reading, my plan, if all goes according to plan, I'll be reading this right around the week of Christmas. So that seems very exciting to me. I've loved I've read 3 of her books. 2 of them I thought were utterly fantastic, and the third was very, very good. It wasn't quite as utterly fantastic, but still very good. So far she's batting 1,000 in me liking her books. So I'm excited to read that. The next book on my list transfers to another genre, which goes into epic fantasy, and this is A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms by George R. R. Martin. You will recognize this author as the author of Game of Thrones. This is from the same universe as the Game of Thrones universe. However, the difference is this is set years earlier and is a kid's story more. It's 3 novellas put together in one. About this knight and his squire, and it has great artwork inside, and it's a shorter book from him because some of his long books, they're long. So I'm excited to read this one because it'll give me an option to read fantasy, but also kind of get some kind of quick. Something that is not going to be a quick read, but I think is going to be a good read, is going to be The Dragon Republic by R.F. Kuang. Last year, I read The Poppy War, and I thought it was a very well done book. I didn't enjoy reading it at all. It is a hard book to read, but I thought it was good literature, and it was a book that was going to have real impact for the future. And everyone that I've watched on YouTube says this book is much better. And so I'm intrigued by this book. I haven't bought the 3rd book yet because I don't know whether or not I'll like it. I'm not sure I want to continue, but I feel like I should. So that's why I have this book on the TBR. It's the only tome this year. The next book I have is the book Mastery by Robert Greene. This is a nonfiction. I read earlier this year a book by him called The 48 Laws of Power, which I thought was a very excellently well done book. It was not perfectly well done. I had a problem with the way that he did references and citations, but the themes, the ideas in that book were brilliant, and this book is about how to become a master in your field, and he examines that through the lens of actual masters of different fields, and that seems very exciting to me. And so I've started this book. I'm not going to be reading it like I do my other books straight through. I'll read a chapter here or there because they're long chapters, but I do want to finish this book in December because it has some intriguing promises, but I already have stuff that I've read that I don't particularly love. And then finally on my list is my book that I'm reading for class. It's called 1968, The Election That Changed America. Very short book. It's only about 160 pages. As I said, I'm reading it for class, so that's the primary reason I'm picking this one up. I want to get through this before I read some other nonfiction political books that I really find interesting. And so this is just a quick, I'll have it done in a day or 2, and I'm not sure I'll do a video or not, but we'll see. But it's on my TBR. So quite the big TBR this month I should say. I'll have a total of 11 books if I finish that final Deep Space Nine book at the end of the month, if I can get it in on time. But if not, it'll probably be 10 books, which is pretty good. So let me know what you're going to be reading in December, and if you think there are some new releases or other books that I should put on my list of my TBR list, and what books you think I should put on my list for some time to read next year. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel, please hit the notification bell, and until next time, I'm Jonathan, and thank you for watching.